And welcome back to Through the Hedgerow. This is the second part of our introductory scenario, Shelter from the Storm. And I think we should probably introduce ourselves once again. I'm John, the game creator and GM or judge for the adventure today. And in the order we did it last time, Carl, tell them about yourself.
So I'm Carl. I've role-played for quite a while, and at this point in time, I'm playing Dankworth Darkly, who is a Tom Noddin, a spider-like creature with many arms, heavily buttoned-up jacket, stovepipe hat, and rather thick spectacles.
Fantastic. And Nick?
Hello, so I'm Nick. I'm playing Wombard the Warlock. I have a weird obsession with bees, yet still have no honey, and have been, same as Carl, role-playing for many years as well.
And Simon.
I am Simon, and I've been role-playing for many, many years. Tonight I'm going to be playing Radcliffe Wally Walsh, a motley, a survivor of the First World War, who brought something a little bit sad home with him.
Good.
Wally is an itinerant tramp now.
Yeah.
Bless him.
Okay, and the story so far, I mean, in a nutshell, you've arrived at the village of Henley Hoff in the spring of 1941, and your mission is to find somebody who is a potential champion of the light. You know that lovers is going to be an essential clue pointing towards the identity of this person, and you know that defending a holy site is going to be vital to a successful conclusion. Your nemesis is the Raven Margrave, and you've already found some evidence that the dead are rising in answer to his sinister summonses, although so far he seems to be keeping a bit of a low profile, but ravens are multiplying around the village. When we left off, Wally, you'd been having a rather nice breakfast at the vicarage, and you'd been discovering a great deal of local folklore about Charn House in the nearby woods, for example, and about Grimble Seat, a large hill overlooking the town with standing stones on top of it, and an ancient legend of a siege and a battle, and a snippet of elder lore about the place. Meanwhile, Wombard and Darkly, you had gone to the house of Alison Weiss, the widow, to inform her that her husband's grave has been desecrated, but not to inform her that he has been risen from the dead as some form of undead horror, because this is England. And currently, Wombard, you are in the form of the Reverend Lumley, thanks to a Dwemer that you have cast. You've also seen off Alison's unwanted suitor, Eustace Childick, who seems to be the rather spoilt son of the major landowner in these parts. And Darkly, you found a drawing in Alison's son's room while you were snooping about of a blood-spattered, blood-covered Viking-style warrior who matches very closely with the figure you saw in the conundrum. So we can resume things from here, and tell me what else you'd like to know, or what we're thinking of doing next.
I think that with breakfast in my belly, and I'll leave the warmth of the hearth behind me, taking a trip down the road in my fetching new pair of socks and slightly too tight on my feet shoes, I shall endeavour to find my colleagues or my fellow Bryanites one more time.
Did we make a plan to all rendezvous at the pub at the Charnley Arms, or did I imagine that?
If you did, it's a bloody good plan anyway.
Yeah.
I
don't recall, but yeah.
Let's say that we made that arrangement. It certainly was spoken about. In which case, Wally, Susanna the vicar's daughter, will escort you out. She is heading over to work at the village school on the opposite side of the road. It's a little primary school. It only runs classes in the mornings for the small ones, as Susanna calls them, and she's a sort of classroom assistant there. There's quite a big crowd of boys dispersing because the bus to Godney hasn't turned up after the air raid last night. So there's quite a bit of cheering and running around throwing hats in the air because the older boys have a day off school, it seems. And you can then wander quite happily along the road towards the Charnley Arms. Let me just skip back to Darkley and Wombard then, who are south of the river at the Vice household. What do you think? Or do you have any more business to settle with Widow Vice?
I think I'll be skulking around outside waiting for Wombard.
Yeah, I think I'll say my thank yous and finish my teas and meet up with Dankworth. I think the main information that we've got there is about what Dankworth found in the sorry, I've forgotten his name, the young boy's room, the son's room. Walter, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'll espouse to you the drawing, and it seems very, very similar to the conundrum that we were given. A warrior with blonde hair and blood spattering his pate.
He definitely does look like one of those northern types, shall we say?
So, what? So we're rendezvousing basically.
Well, to the free house.
And I think the timing of this will be quite nice. That as you are crossing the bridge and you see the crowds of boys breaking up from the bus stop, you'll see the distinctive silhouette of Wally in the distance, and can run ahead to catch up with him. And I'm afraid to tell you that a nemesis check has indicated to me that the Raven Margrave has sent his attention your way. So the day is darkening, even though the sun has now risen. That beautiful early promise seems to have evaporated. Heavy, low clouds scud across the skies, and an occasional cold wind sways the branches. The cawing of the ravens up on Grimble's seat was a continuous background, a melancholy background choir to all of your doers. But now it reaches quite a feverish pitch and then grows much louder. And if you look up and behind, you can see the filthy black birds rising like a cloud from the trees on the summit and swooping down over the village, crossing over the almshouses and Southacre, flowing across the river. They seem to sort of funnel it a little bit to fly over the bridge rather than the flowing waters themselves, and then coming very low and swooping down towards you. This is a great swarm of the things descending on you as a problem. So this is going to be a challenge, and I want to know, really, in terms of the drama, what are you doing? And then we'll work out the threat level and what dice you need to roll. It is an immense swarm murder of crows. Blackens the sky.
Are they coming after us in specifically, or are they going near?
You get the impression that the Raven Margrave is simply throwing his forces into the village to rattle windows, chase anybody about, find what he can. So no, it seems to be too diffused to suggest that he's coming directly for you. But he certainly seems to be aware that somebody or something is afoot and wants to expose what he can. These ravens, it's known as a malignity, and they do have the power to detect Bryonites, and their cries can bring more powerful servants of the Margrave, as well as increasing the general strength of the nemesis in this area. If
Can they
spot you?
Sorry, John. Can they detect through spells, for instance, for like, for example, me looking like the Reverend?
Yeah, it'll be just more difficult for them. What I'd allow you to do there is roll your grammary die as a soak against them. But yeah, they can, with enough power behind them and in enough numbers, they could even detect you hiding behind the Dreamer.
When I look at Wombard coming down the road, etc., am I seeing him or am I seeing the chap whose house I've just left after having breakfast?
As a fellow Briar Knight, Wombard, you can enable him to see you as you are, including parting the Dreamer a little bit and going, "Hello," and then kind of closing it back
really
around you again. Yeah. So,
Perfect.
folks, what's the plan of escape, the plan of hiding, the plan of defiance?
I'm thinking I'm just gonna leap over the edge of the bridge, like or scuttle over the edge of the bridge and stick to it as I go into the little hump underneath.
Great. Wombard.
I'm not going to lie. One small percentage of me wants to uppercut a Raven, but that's not going to happen.
Why not? You can certainly do that. You've got your bees on a stick, and you can swing that thing about and say, "How about you? You're flapping."
I think I'm going to try and
Rascals.
stay in character, so I'm going to try and just, I don't know, probably do the Christian sign of the cross with wits, hopefully to try and pretend against it, shall we say?
Yep. Okay, then. So you're sort of staying in role to act out as being the terrified vicar. And Wally.
Yep, I'm going to put my dukes up and come on, you great big ugly birds. I've dealt with your sort before.
Yeah, punch a raven on the beak. Great idea. Okay, then. These things have got a huge scope. They're basically scope 4, and you're scope 2. So, because there's just a small group of you. So there's going to be quite... Yeah. They'd normally be threat level 1 and peril dice 4, but they're going to go up to threat level 2, and peril dice is a d6. They're also overwhelming, so they'll generate 4 notches. So you're like 4 down in terms of overall success here.
In terms of my virtues, I have an eye for weakness. So is one of them slightly lame on the wing or something?
Do you know what? Yeah, I'll allow you to do that. That basically means you can swing your punch at one of the weaker looking things. You can roll your virtue die because counter skill, and you can automatically add an edge. It cancels out one of those 4 notches. So
good.
That'll certainly work. So let's deal with you first then. Dice that you might like to roll. Well, you can definitely roll the virtue die. That just applies, but only to the first threat level. We're going to have to make 3 rolls in total.
Right. I'm going to take my virtue die. I'm going to use might.
Do you wish to shrink any of the dice to generate more edges?
No, not at this time.
Okay then.
I might actually. I'm going to use my wits. I'm going to shrink my wits to a d6.
Yep.
And when I try to, I'm backing up against the edge of the bridge. So when I try to take this slightly weaker raven out, I try to like uppercut it, but try to get it to dodge by me, so it just actually flies into the bridge.
I like the sound of that. Very good. So just to clarify the dice you're rolling here, then your virtue die, because you can, and you're rolling your shrunken wits die. So you're generating a total of 2 edges. Want to roll me both of those dice and tell me whichever score is the highest.
A 3 and a 1.
So we'll take the 3. Okay, that's your soak against the peril that they are generating. Wombard, how about yourself?
I think because I'm pretending to be the vicar still, the Reverend, I think I'll go with charm.
Yep.
That's a D6.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I want to shrink it any lower.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do for the benefit of this spell you've got and its effectiveness against the Raven Margrave. I will boost your charm then to a size larger for this one roll to represent the convincing nature of the spell that's protected. You could shrink it back again if you want to generate another edge.
Okay, I'd be interested to shrink it to make an edge, but I'm not sure what edge would be useful. So I might need
Well,
some guidance on
basically,
that.
we've got a ton of notches from these things because there's so many of them. And that means that even if we get to the end of the challenge with a whole bunch of notches, it means that your success will be so weak or possibly non-existent that it might just happen all over again. And that would be very bad indeed. So we're trying to add edges to the challenge so that when it's finished, there's a good outcome.
Oh, fantastic. Then I'll do that. Then I'll shrink it and produce an edge for countering that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, no, sorry. And I rolled a beautiful 1.
Okay. Well, we've generated an edge. That's 3 edges in total, and your scores are 1. Carl, you were going over the bridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the
use your
plan.
many arms, can't you?
Oh yeah. So I think what I'm planning to do is as the fey creature amongst us is definitely get out of sight and do something a bit monstrous. So if they're going to start swirling and gathering around the bridge, I'm going to be underneath it, snatching them out of the air.
Right.
So I'm just going to be full on spider mode, with
Oh.
thanks to my my tarot card, the Fool has allowed me to get additional extra arms.
Yes.
So I have many extra arms.
So you've got basically 6 now, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm planning on, frankly, using my might, which I know is very small, but I don't think that's what I'm going for here.
Yeah. Remember, you can always roll your doom die.
Yeah. And
you
because
might
I got
have traits.
the Fool, that's increased size, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. So I think I'll do that. And then I'll use my additional many hands, which gives me an additional boost, which I can double up the boost or pick a secondary one.
Yeah.
So I think what I'll do is I'll take 2 edges.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try and snatch as many of these things out of the air as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So I'll be rolling my D4 might, my D6 doom, generating 2 edges.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a 3.
Okay then, and we've generated a grand total of 5 edges, which helps a lot. Let me tell you about the peril.
Yep.
4. So whatever you rolled, deduct that from 4 and lose the rest in resolve. How many people here lost some resolve? All of you?
A single point of resolve.
3 for me.
Yeah, because you were saying roll. It's 4 minus your highest roll, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's
lower your resolve.
Yeah.
The ravens begin shrieking what was previously a kind of battle cry of throaty croaking becomes a demonic choir. The great cloud of them that was beginning to spread out around the village now starts to turn back and close in on you, and just increased the nemesis die to a d6.
Ooh, that's bad.
Because they've alerted their master.
Dum, dum, dum.
Okay, but we are now onto the second level of the threat. So, Darkly, you've gone under the bridge. Wally, you've ducked and dodged, and a couple of ravens have splattered themselves into the walls of the bridge, and you've scampered away giggling. And Wambard, you've been deep in pious prayer, but now the main flank of these things is rushing in on you. And these things have got cruel beaks. Now it's all about beak, meet, eyeball. This is Raven strategy. So, tell me how you're trying to get out of it. Dice that you used for the last level of the threat are now exhausted. So, let me start off with, kind of in reverse order this time. Carl, what do you think you're going to be rolling? What do you
Okay.
think you're going to be doing?
Well, that's a good question. Because I've addressed the challenge with might or physical
Yeah.
physical challenge. So I've really got a choice of charm or wits. And is this the last level of
No, there's
of
going
the
to be one
challenge?
more after this. There's
All
going to
right,
be one more
okay.
after this.
Well, okay. So I'll save that then. So really, I've got wits. Now, how to outwit these things is
Which could be used for simply hiding. Don't worry about it.
yeah, okay. In that case, what I may well do is I'll release myself from the top of the arch, from underneath the bridge into the river below, and just drop into the waters and allow the whatever current there is to carry me beneath the water. The only thing that you'll see is the floating stovepipe hat, which I will retrieve at a later juncture.
That's a lovely image. I thank you for that. Roll your wits. And again,
Yeah.
if you've got a doom die,
Yeah, I've got a D6 doom and I've got a D6 wit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my wits in order to gain an edge. So I'm rolling D64. That's a 2.
good. Okay then. And over to Nick.
So I'm thinking about casting a hex.
Yeah.
I've got Sentinel of Camelot, which I can make a circle, and then basically an enemy I suggest or anything I suggest can't cross it. So I could go with the Raven, so both myself and Wally are protected.
Yeah. Great idea. Yeah. Now, if you're doing that, you won't then be able to soak any of the peril coming at you this round. Okay. So look carefully at your resolve to see if this is manageable, because you have to spend a certain amount of resolve to cast the hex, don't you? You're not very good at hexes which you don't have time to prepare for ritualistically.
Yeah, so my resolve's quite low at the moment. Actually, it's only 3, so that might not be.
So there's a very good chance. I think you've got the little spell list, but I think you might find that just simply casting the spell.
That's the threat level, isn't it?
Yeah.
So threat level 0.
No, you're not doing it as a threat level because that's a Dwemer. It's just the simple cost. I sent you a little handout that described you and your spells and what you need to do to cast
Yeah,
them.
so I've got it in front of me. So you roll a Gramarye die or a D6 if you use a herb, D8 if you use a herb with a specific spell. The peril die is D4 for petty spells and D6 for apprentice spells.
Yeah. Here we go. Yes, to cast a spell, spend 1 resolve. 2 for apprentice spells, but this isn't apprentice spell, it's just a petty spell. And an extra 1 for any hex you cast without a ritual, which is this. So you've got to spend 2 resolve just to make it happen.
Yes, that means I'll have 1 resolve left for any
so you've got 1 resolve left, which would probably bring about your defeat. But defeat might be looming anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
You could certainly go for it and see if you can get the spell to work.
Yeah, let's give it a punt. Go on, let's try.
Give it a punt. Right.
Yeah.
Let's try it out. Right. So with casting a hex, you roll your Gramarye die. If you use up a herb, you can roll a d6 instead of your Gramarye die. If you've got any foxglove, which is the specific herb for casting the spell, it could be a d8. And as a petty spell, it'll generate a d4 peril.
So I've gone to cast it. It's cost me the 2 resolve, hasn't it?
Yep.
So I've done that.
You're burning a herb. You've got some, haven't you?
I have got, but it was St. John's Wort.
Well, you can burn any herb for the d6, or if you've specifically got foxglove, that shouldn't be right.
Okay, let's use the herb just in case then.
Yeah.
Give it to a d6.
Yep. So roll the d6.
3.
The hex generates a peril of 1. So what did you roll?
3.
3. Comfortable. Right. So you cast the hex and you're warding out ravens. Yes. Okay, then. We'll come on to the peril that they generated in a moment. And Wally.
Yep, so still up on the bridge, Wally gets and starts climbing up onto the side of a bridge, flapping about with his great poacher's coat at the ravens, and he shouts at them. What do you call a loud murder of crows? A cacophony. And he's literally
Bravo, sir.
leaning
Bravo.
backwards, trying to catch crows in his coat, and then
Right.
falling backwards into a river.
Is that you using your jester power then?
That's me using the jester power. So I'm
Okay,
taking
that
one
is all you need
resolve.
to do is tick off a point of resolve, and you don't take part in the peril for this round. You're not going to lose any peril. It's just like your joke causes the ravens to squawk and flap and scatter away from you. And we've really just got to work out what their peril is. And it is 2. Yeah. So no resolve loss for Carl, no resolve loss for Wally. And what did you roll for your spell? You rolled a 3, didn't you, Nick?
I did, yes.
You did. So no resolve loss for you, and your spell is now activated, and the ravens cannot enter it. You've effectively disengaged yourself from this challenge, but you can still offer other people your dice in the final threat level, which is now coming up. So Darkly is floating downstream with the ravens swooping, crisscrossing the river, and trying to kind of detect where he's gone. Wally also kind of plunged underwater with the raven shadows crisscrossing the little disc of light overhead. When you come up for air, you know that they'll be there and looking to hit your eyes once again. So this is the final threat level, generates another notch, but so far you've generated 6 edges and they've generated 6 notches. So how are we going to get out of this? Let's start with you, Wally. Your dramatic plunge.
Yeah, so almost the opposite of a belly flop. How deep is the river?
Here, deep enough to need a big old bridge over it. I think it's probably at its deepest point, 7 or 8 feet deep.
Good. Hopefully I was hoping it hadn't gone dry.
No.
Early spring. So there I am floating.
You to stay underwater. Sorry, carry on. Right.
The ravens are trying to peck at me.
Well, they're waiting for you to come to the surface, and if you break for air, they're going to swoop on your eyeballs.
Oh, bastards. My only option is to just basically go to the bank, and as they try to flap at me, I'll just try to grab some weeds from the side of the bank and just slap at them.
Okay. You can make a roll of that with might. Remember, you can always throw your doom die into this.
Yeah, I am going to use my doom die. I got a 4 for my might and a 1 for my doom.
I think we'll use the 4. That should be pretty helpful. Wombard, you can offer somebody else a die if you've got any dice left to use. You've got maybe your wits or something like that. So if you've got some good advice or you can contribute in any way, have a little bit of think.
Sure, I'll scream at Dankworth, duck. So I'll offer him my die.
You can offer him your wits die.
Yeah.
So Carl, floating down the river, ravens in hot pursuit.
Does it flow north or south?
Southwards.
Okay, righty-ho.
There's a little tributary joins it a bit south of the river.
Yeah, the Wellburn stream. Yeah, as it joins.
There's quite a kind of busy confluence there, a lot of froth and spume.
Yeah, okie. Just wanted to make sure of how we are. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is, if I can sew this in a narrative direction, is I've got to figure a way of using my charm, really. And ideally, that's generally interacting, really, isn't it? So the only way I can see this is interacting with an NPC in some manner or other.
Charm's good for calling for help.
Yeah, I think as I
looking at the map,
Forest Farm is what's coming up.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's a little bridge there, isn't there?
There is.
To the east meadow.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be my gambit, is to call for assistance.
Yeah.
A gentleman calls for aid.
Marvelous. So, do you want to roll your charm?
Yeah. So
Or any of your traits that you think are relevant as well?
yeah. Well, given that and what I'm up to, there's a spark of humanity there in a desperate, almost cowardly plea for help. At this point, as this sopping wet, drenched spider, and I'm currently very wet because all of my hair and fur and whatever else is wet as well. So I'm this horrid, drowned rat-looking creature. He probably looks half the weight of what he did.
Add in the D4 from your from your trait.
Yeah. Can I double drop something? Can I drop something twice? Or no?
Just once.
Is it once per die or once per roll?
Once per roll. You have to use the biggest die as the thing that is the one that has to be shrunk.
That's absolutely fine. Just wanted to check that. So I'm rolling 2d6 and d4. There we go. As I call for aid.
Well, just let me interrupt you. Why 2d6? One of the d6 is your charm.
One is my doom.
You're rolling that again.
Oh no, I assumed that like you could roll
I think that
for
Nick,
the rest of the challenge.
Your doom can be rolled in an unlimited way once it's been triggered. Once the circumstances of your doom get triggered. Has that happened to somebody?
Well, given that mine is danger and suffering consequence, hazard while defending, and didn't we get awe that increased the doom die?
Yes, yeah, it's increased its big. Now I'm not going to let you roll the doom die again.
That's fine.
It only gets used. You can use it once per encounter. It only becomes unlimited once you have done the thing that kind of empowers it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a D6 and a D4.
Yep.
Give it a roll.
What about my dice? Sorry. I was giving Carl a dice for.
Oh, and Carl, you were getting a warning cry from
Yeah.
Nick as well. He was handing you his wits. You can roll that as well.
What's
your
D6,
wit die?
Carl?
D6.
Okay. Great. So
Are you generating an edge from all of this by shrinking something?
Yeah, I had done. Yeah, I shrunk my charm.
Right.
As I pleaded in a cowardly manner.
Excellent. So, what's the best score you got from all of that?
5.
Oh, very nice.
Not bad.
Okay.
Thank you ever so much, Wombard.
The peril is 2.
Smashing.
So, you don't lose any resolve. Wombard can't lose any resolve. And Wally, I don't think you lose any resolve, do you?
Oh, goody, goody, goody. No, I don't think I do. Since
nobody gets their eyes plucked out, which is
always a bonus.
Normally we would define that as a good thing. Right. So the ravens begin to disperse, particularly because your cries for help, Darkly, bring people running from the farm. And also a couple of villagers will come over to the site of Wally, who is dragging himself out of the river, and apparently the site of the poor old vicar and the bridge being mobbed by these things as well. You've ended up generating 7 edges, and there were 6 notches, so you are kind of +1 edge on the whole deal, which means that not only do you get the basic level of success, a modest success, in fact you've got a minor success, which is better than a modest success. It's you succeed in a way that solves your problem in a fairly kind of long-term sort of way. So the ravens scatter and disperse. Their croaking voices have a kind of receding laughter, and they return to their rookery on the trees on Grimble's seat. But the villagers have gathered round you in your various groupings and are showing immense concern for you. Those awful birds, and if I just had my shotgun, I'd have taken a few of them down. And most unnatural, I call it, to see them behaving that way. But over on the forest farm, you've been pulled out by the farmer, Aldous Forrest, the owner of the farmhouse. He's come running out along with his daughter, Doreen, to get you, Darkly, out of the river. The rescue for you, Wally, will be at the hands of A fairly simple-looking lad. It's Ned Kemble, the sexton from the churchyard, who has brought you. He's very strong, and he's able to sort of lift you out of the water almost one-handed.
Oh, I'm much obliged.
Good. Everybody did really well there, and I thought there was some nice role-playing touches with how you all kind of handled the challenge. So I'm going to give you out some prize cards, or you can roll a d20 yourself to see what they are. Let's give you your prizes.
Oh.
Roll a d20 then, Nick.
I got 17. Which I
Good.
believe
Your
is the
prize
star.
is the star. You can use that possibly to advance your resolve die to make it a size larger, possibly, at the end of the adventure. Just make a little note of the star as your prize.
I got 16. Is that the tower?
16 is the tower. That could turn an item in your inventory into a legacy item that you always have equipped at the start of an adventure, and not counting towards that probably rather random dice roll you make.
That's not too shabby. So it acts like Wombard's bindle of bees.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And Wally.
Yep. A number 6 for lovers.
I knew it was going to be that. The lovers. Yeah. That enables you to choose a renown virtue, which is normally something that's of benefit that lives in a particular age, and you can call on to help you. So those are the possible prizes you might be able to claim. Feel like a game show host at the end of tonight's episode. Right. Who shall we deal with first? Tell you what, Darkly, I'll deal with you first, just because you kind of deliberately attracted aid, and then I'll jump onto the other one. You are taken by Aldous Forrest and his daughter into the farmhouse. They throw a big rug over you so you don't catch the pleurisy, and they get the kettle on. And Aldous goes off to find his shotgun, but he can't seem to find any shells. Doreen kind of mentions to you that she always makes a point of hiding the shells when her father goes looking for the shotgun. And eventually, disconsolately, he comes back and allows his daughter to provide him with a cup of tea. You can get the measure of them both. Doreen is a strapping girl in her late teens with a fairly willful way about her, and a somewhat exasperated manner towards her father. Aldous Forrest, her father, is clearly a very distracted man. There's a sort of dazed quality to him, and as he drinks sipping tea, his commiserations with you and your misfortune and asking about you and who you are kind of fades away, and he ends up staring out of the window in the general direction of Charnley Wood, looking as if he's a million miles away because of his distraction and, you think, grief, really. I'm not going to have you make any sort of glamour check to see whether he sees. He's not enough interested in you to see through your glamour.
But do I think I'll ask Doreen if she would be so kind as to retrieve my apparel as it was lost in the river. My hat, I'm afraid, dear, although I retained my spectacles.
Well, Doreen will take the shotgun, and she manages to produce a couple of shells from inside a hat box. And she says, if those crows come back, I'll take this with me. And she goes striding out in the direction of the river, looking to retrieve your stuff, leaving you in a rather kind of silent communion over a cup of tea with the incredibly melancholic Aldous.
So, given my background as all my weaving, as it were, imitating a grave digger and somewhat of a bit of a coroner as well, do I recognise his grief as actual grief? Is it for a death or the loss of a child or a loved one?
Well, I'll have you make a little roll here. First of all, you're getting a breather, so you can get back your 1 point of resolve.
Oh,
In fact,
excellent.
everybody will get a breather and gets a point of resolve back. And your quality dice and doom dice reactivate in a breather. So your might, your wits, your virtue die, all of those dice reactivate.
Perfection.
And this won't exhaust the dice, but I'm going to have you make a little check involving, well, how are you engaging with him? Are you just sort of studying him? I think you're probably going to use your wits for that.
Yeah.
If you're trying to draw him out, you could probably use charm.
No, I don't think he's one to be drawn out. I think I will attempt that, but I don't think I'll be successful.
Okay,
so
give me your wits roll then.
It'll fall to cold, calculating, multiple eyes. Oh, I got 6.
Oh, right.
I hope that's good.
The barrel dice just said 4, so you succeed. Yeah, studying him and looking around the kitchen, you can see that there's many elements in the house of a woman's presence. Doilies and little decorative knickknacks and a rather treasured collection of Port Merion chinaware. Yet it's all somewhat dusty and somewhat neglected. You think a woman has been here, but is clearly here no longer.
Right. It's that typical farm with like deconstructed machinery. There's like half an engine like stacked up on one of the dining room chairs.
Yeah. Oh, and in fact, projects that have been begun and not concluded would seem to be the theme of the household. As you were taken in past a half-repaired tractor, and in the bread basket just beside you is some strange corkscrew-like device of a seed drill that has been dismantled and then shoved in the bread bin and left there. So yeah, you could say there is a bereavement here. It's the wife who is missing, and Aldous has clearly never been quite able to reconnect with his life since then.
Right. Okay. So it's clearly.
Do you speak to him about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I will. I think I'll use yeah, I think I'll lean into my rather not quite bedside manner, but terse graveside manner. So, the sort of idle
Graveside
chatter.
manner, I love that.
Yeah, terrible.
You need to work on your graveside manner.
Yeah, terrible day for rain. That sort of thing.
Yeah, he will apologise for the state of the house, and he says ordinarily Mary would have, and again his explanation tails away. He looks out again towards Charnley Wood through the window. There's something about the dark trees over the other side of the river there that seems to continually draw his gaze and his attention. But then he there's the sound of Doreen coming back in. She's retrieved your medicine bag and hat, and she says, Dad, you're distressing the gentleman sitting here saying nothing. Sing one of your songs. My father, she says, knows all the old songs. Isn't that right, Dad? And Forrest straightens his back and says, yes, I know a song. And under his breath, he starts to sing it. The Ballad of the White Bride of Charn. And here's the lyrics. Now the woods of Charn, they echo her cry as she mourns her children under the sky. O faithless men, beware your cruel wives. Your children dear shall pay with their lives. Now Dorian reacts by saying, oh, Dad, that's a terrible song. But of course, darkly listening to it, you are shuddered to the core. What you're hearing here, once again, is elder law. The elder law of cups. And the secret of that song passes from Aldous to you. And as it does so, something incredibly weighty seems to leave him. Carrying around elder law like that is quite a burden for mortals. And this kind of tragic song of infidelity, death, and the death of children is something that your alien fey mind can digest. Aldous sort of sags a little bit and says, yes, there are happier songs and happier places. I used to like going up Henley Hill, and quite like to go there now. Dorian says, do you good, Dad, to take a walk.
Excellent. Well, I shan't be keeping you. Good day. I must repair to the.
You're very welcome to
Charlie
come with me,
Arms.
says Aldous. Very welcome. It's a beautiful walk.
To Henley Hoff.
No, just the hill over there, Henley Hill. Yes, points
Oh,
to
to
it's
the
the
Henley.
rounded hill at the bottom of the South Acre Fields. We'll just walk through where the land girls are finishing off and climb up to the top of the hill. It's, on a windy day like this, it can be quite bracing, and you get spectacular views.
Well, I don't think I could refuse such an offer to be shown the local sights with such a hayseed, salt of the earth fellow, such as yourself, Aldous Forrest.
Very good. Okay, we'll leave you and he walking towards Henley Hill, and we'll
Mhm.
skip back to the bridge, which is where Wombard and Wally kind of both are. Wombard still in vicar form. You can stay in that form as long as you wish. You tell me when you want to drop it. And Wally as well, being rescued, being doused down. There's an invitation, obviously, to come back to the vicarage. Another person who's helped you out is a big fat man with red ruddy cheeks and bristling sideburns, who introduces himself as Jenks, Toby Jenks, landlord. He is a gentleman who seems to be perpetually, I suppose the word is, tousled. There's something about his hair that never seems to fall straight. He can't have a shirt without part of it popping out of his belt and dangling down the front. Buttons are never quite done upright. Elbows split. Everything about his clothing just seems to go wrong, as if there's too much of him and he's trying to pop out in all directions. Sweatiness is probably his main feature. And after having had your hand pumped by him, Wally, you found that you could probably do with dipping it back in the river again. But anyway, Jenks is very anxious to help out with the vicarage. I've not been at Evensong recently, but I can assure you, it's just because of the pressures of work, and you're not to listen to what they're saying about me around the town. Those are scurrilous lies put about by people who have an axe to grind. You can't be a local landlord without making a few enemies because you refuse to serve people drinks, you see. You must come round, Vicar. There'll be a pint on the bar for you whenever you're ready. Not just a pint, I'll get some of my finest. And your good friend here, he says, pointing to Robin.
Oh,
It's been all around town that you've taken in one of them indigents, he says, begging your pardon, meaning no offence to you, Wally. It is ever so kind of you, Reverend, ever so kind of you to be taking in, well, let's call them what they are, tramps, meaning no offence, sir, begging your pardon.
No.
Wastrels, human refuge, the detritus of the countryside, no offence, begging your pardon, sir. It's extremely decent of you to be taking in people who would probably steal from you if they could, meaning no offence to you, sir, begging your pardon.
Would there be something a touch stronger than ale there? Oh, it's been powerful cold from that river, I can tell you.
Well, let's get you up there. I can start you off on your journey to good health with a little nip. So you're going to accompany Jenks to the pub.
Yeah, indeed.
But, as you pass by the school, there is I mentioned the school last week. There's a very big vegetable garden. The whole grounds of the school, the playground, has been dug up and turned into a vegetable garden. And labouring in this vegetable garden are about a dozen very small children whose morning lessons seem to consist of putting up bean poles and planting carrots. They are swarming around the earth like little beetles under the stern direction of a round, blousy-looking woman, again with a cardigan that seems to have been slightly misbuttoned as well. There's something about her that reminds you of Jenks in the sense that the clothing just isn't quite right. Jenks waves to her with his fat little fingers, and she, in the process of scolding one of the children, no, Petunia, those are runner beans, they go over there, waves back to Jenks with her pudgy little finger. Jenks likes to think that nobody has noticed this. You also notice Susanna, moving amongst the bean poles, and She seems to be sitting down occasionally with a book on her lap, or one of the children, trying to make sure that at least some of them get taught their letters in between planting vegetables.
John, as we go by, I just want to have a look because it might be sort of because the kids are doing like bean poles and stuff like that. I was just looking to see if there's any sort of makeshift scarecrows, and just in case one of them may be not quite a normal scarecrow as we go by.
Oh,
You know, that's an excellent thought. Do you want to make roll your glamour dice and tell me what you get?
Sure.
Your
Where
grammar
is
die,
that?
that is.
Oh, grammar. Sorry. Yep. Okay, here we go. 4.
Yep, there certainly is a scarecrow. It has been knocked down by the fury of the ravens, but it's a pretty haphazard crossbar with a couple of broomsticks with a bucket on top, and a face painted on that by one of the children. So no, you don't see that there's anything supernatural about to come to life in this little patch. But it's interesting that the ravens did make a beeline for it in an attempt to destroy it. Passing on, yeah?
Yeah.
Up the road, there's a little cottage on the left, and then the Charnley Arms, proprietor T. Jenks.
Sorry, one thing, just en route, I just want to ask Jenks quickly. So what are these rumours you talk of? I mean, they haven't come as far as me. I know you're an upstanding pillar of this community, so I can't believe them, but I'm always interested to know to disperse them.
Well, I'm very glad they haven't reached you, Vicarage. I'm very glad that people haven't tried to pollute your good mind with human wickedness. It's always best to believe the best. That's what I say. That's my policy. But I don't know. People see a handsome and confident man about town like myself, who's always got a kind word for his neighbours and is always willing to pop round to their houses and help out in any way they can. Who can throw up a bean pole, for example. Throw it up wherever anybody wants me to throw it up. And, people read too much into that, but I'm merely being friendly and neighbourly.
Very good.
Charnley Arms, proprietor, T. Jenks. A nice big old building this is. Must date back away, yeah. Got a bit of time perhaps when this was a coach house on the road from Godman.
So it's not a former dairy. It wasn't a milkman's establishment.
No, indeed.
For Mr. Jenks to do his rounds and make his deliveries.
The milkman, yeah. No, indeed. There seems to be some rooms to let upstairs. He's clearly taken in lodgers. And once you arrive there, a piercing voice comes from within. Jenks! And Jenks himself seems to shrink a couple of sizes, and the other side of his shirt pops out of his trousers too. Is that you, you worthless, good-for-nothing man? And the formidable Gladys Jenks, the landlord's wife, appears in the doorway and unleashes a great barrage of ill will in the direction of the trembling Jenks, in which he stands accused of philandering, but that's a matter of course. But also of being a wastrel with money, being lazy, being unreliable, a gambler, a keeper of low company, with a strong look at you, Wally, and begging your pardon, meaning no offence to you, Reverend. And she essentially, as she advances on him and he retreats before her, and then with surprising agility for one so plump, he manages to skip around her. You think to yourself, this chap can play rugby, you know? And he vanishes into the darkness of the interior. And she goes after him like a British warship in full sail, all cannons firing, leaving you temporarily alone in the doorway to the bar.
I'd like to have a good look around, John, if that's all right, using my character trait of perceptive to try and see if there's anything untoward or noticeable.
Great. Yeah, roll a d4.
4 again.
4 again. Okay, then. The place has only just opened up, so it's just approaching 11 o'clock. Strictly speaking, the bar isn't open. And so there's no guests in here yet other than yourself, but moving around is a young soldier who seems to have come down the stairs, and he's got an open shirt top and a towel slung over his shoulder, seems to be finishing off his shaving and seems to be looking for a clean towel. Turns over some things in a cupboard, nods to you two, Reverend, and then disappears upstairs again. And then shouldering in behind you comes a scruffy and rather malodorous chap who you recognise as Sid, the fella from the graveyard first thing this morning. He's arriving to start his shift and ensconces himself at a table at the bar and folds his hands in front of him and arranges his face into an expectant expression, waiting for the landlord or his dear wife to materialise on the other side of the taps. Currently, their voices are echoing up from the beer cellar down below.
Just walk over to Sid. Good morning, Sid. You're in early as usual.
Oh, yeah, Reverend. Well, you know how it is. It's I've never really been right.
No.
And you know how it is when you're not right.
Why do you say that, young Sid? Why do you say you're not right?
I had quite a fright, Reverend, and it was in your very graveyard. I was having a little sleep there last night. You know how sometimes you have a bit of difficulty finding your own house?
Mm-hmm.
We've all experienced it.
We have,
and
yes.
Well, since I was perplexed, as you might say, confused as regards of navigation, I thought I would rest myself against one of your yew trees. And I had the most terrible dream. Two things. First of all, I dreamed that the dead climbed up out of their graves, just like on that beautiful stained glass window on your church, the one that got unfortunately smashed, and started wandering about in the morning light. It was eerie, it was. One of them, well, it was only one of them, but it was the old Kraut, Dieter Rice. Off he went into the sunrise like he was heading home to Jerryland. Well, good riddance to him, I say, begging your pardon. But then, next thing I know, strange characters looming over me. A strange chap with a big stick and wanting to know all sorts of baffling questions. So I fled away here. But if I were you, Reverend, I'd go and have a look at your churchyard and just check that nobody's been messing with those graves. Terrible business. What does it mean when the dead start to rise, do you think?
It can be taken multiple ways there, Sid, but the one thing I would say to you, my boy, is that think of it as a new beginning. Think of it as a new start. Someone being laid to rest and bringing themselves up again. A bit like you could, my young lad.
You mean it's all a metaphor?
Yes, it's just a dream. If
That's
the
a
good
very
Lord,
comforting way of looking at it. I always find religious stories are so much more comforting when you think of them as metaphors.
The good Lord was telling you to start anew, my boy. Maybe you shouldn't be drinking here, maybe going out, maybe helping the war effort, do a bit of digging or gardening, just something that will help this community and feed the locals. Something good. Take that not right and turn it into something right.
Is this, Nick, your oath being
It is.
fulfilled? It is,
It is.
isn't it?
Yeah.
If you accompany him back to the say the school and actually get him helping out with the vegetable plots, then I will declare your oath fulfilled and you can choose your reward. Unfortunately, that does involve leaving Wally at the pub.
No, I was going to say I will leave Wally, but I'll shout through to Jenks and say I'm just going out with young Sid and I'll be back soon. If you could look after my friend, I'll be very grateful.
In that case, materialising behind the bar will be a Gladys Jenks, ferocious lipstick, hair still in a little shawl. She rings a little bell, ding-a-ling. Premises is now open for business. What have you been doing with my customers? Where's Sid gone? Oh well, never mind. New customers, she says. A huge smile for you. And what can I get you, dearie?
The big gentleman, he said there might be a shot of something warm for me. Just taking a dunk in the river, there it was. And one for me. One for my friend who's just gone down the road as well.
Well, I'm sure the Reverend won't be wanting a nip of anything warm. She gets out a shot glass and splashes into it some. Well, she takes out a couple of bottles, looks at one of them, looks at you, looks back at the bottle, puts that one away, gets out another bottle that seems to be much more depleted and of a rather inferior-looking label. Decides that even that is no, and finally pulls out a third one that looks extremely dusty. pretty much untouched since you came back from the Great War, gets the cap off that and pours you a glass of murky-looking fluid. There you go. That'll start you right, she says.
And I reach forward and I get back. And I think it might burn as it goes down.
It does indeed burn, but in a wholesome sort of way for a chap like yourself.
Absolutely. You know that's when it burns that much, it's doing you good.
Yes.
And I push my glass back in. Would there be another one there?
She looks at you kind of rather severely. Another one, you say? You're not a friend of my husband's, are you?
Only just met him.
She'll pour you a glass. Make sure you don't become a friend of my husband's. There you
I don't think there's no danger of me becoming a friend of your husband's, missus.
Don't want to see him hanging around with any more ne'er-do-wells, she says, fixing you with a meaningful glance.
Other I'm trying to put my teeth back in. Other ne'er-do-wells? I'm not sure what ne'er-do-well.
Just passing through, are you? Just passing through Henley Hall?
Yes, just on my ways. Through. Down the road.
Down the road, indeed.
You'll not see much of me.
Once she's reassured that you're not going to stay in town and that you're not some new crony of her husband, she brightens up immensely and is quite happy to chat away with you about various goings on. Now, the main bit of gossip in town, of course, is the Reverend Lumley burying that German, you know. Not a very sensitive thing for him to do, says Gladys, on account of Neville Dale's lad died in the Battle of Britain last year. He was a fighter pilot, he was. He gave his life for his country, and then they're burying Germans in the churchyard. Well, that's not the country that I grew up in, that's for sure.
Well, they say we're all equal before the Lord.
Well, they don't say that to me. What they say to me is we're all equal when it comes to settling up at closing time. Well, I won't take German money, that's for sure.
Not sure I know what German money looks like.
You're not German yourself, are you?
Why'd you say that?
I don't know, you've just got a look of something slightly continental about you. You've been to Germany.
No, I've not been to Germany. I've seen a few Germans in my time.
Have you now? They must have rubbed off on you then.
No, I don't think they did.
She chats away inconsequential enough. Jenks turns up. More customers come floating in. Much surprise at the absence of Sid the Sot. Where's Sid? Is the cry of many people as they arrive at the pub. Most of these seem to be big, burly labourers, sort of middle-aged men. Most of the young men of the town, of course, have been conscripted. They seem to be have taken a bit of an early lunch and arriving here with big wooden boards with cheese and pickle on them and getting in some large flagons of ale to see that done with. This seems to be the hub for the agricultural labourers to trade their gossip and their interests. Main gossip at the moment, Eustace Childick, who seems to be their boss, and the sweet spot he's got for the widow of that crowd, Alison. A few very complimentary remarks about her physical appearance and how Eustace would make a proper husband for her if she'd just return him kindness for kindness. But somebody else mentions, I know, but Eustace has seen one of those land girls, isn't he? I swear I saw him with that girl last night. Oh, well, apparently things didn't work out too well with that Mabel girl. She's answered him back a bit too smart-like, and he had to use his hands, if you know what I mean. Yeah, sorry, Edith is the girl who got the black eye. Yes. Dating Eustace. Yes, indeed. The labourers seem to think that this is all perfectly reasonable behaviour on Eustace's part. He's a bit of a kind of local celebrity, and they all kind of look up to him on account of how he can provide things that you need, if you know what I mean. Okay, you'll be having a little ponder on that, and I'll just pop over to the South Acre with Darkley and Mr. Forrest. Yeah, walking through the South Acre fields where the land girls have been working away. As Forrest mentioned, they seem to be finishing off their labours at the moment. One of them is driving the tractor back towards the shed, and I'm just checking the time now. It's coming to about 11:30. Yeah. Yeah, they're taking their lunch break. They've got probably another hour of work to do after this. A few of them call out towards Mr. Forrest, and he stops and chats away with them. You get another look at these girls, and I'll just run you through their names and identities. Rosemary seems to be the leader. She's the one that you met first thing this morning, who was reining in her rather lazy young friend. Edith is the girl wearing a headscarf who had been driving the tractor earlier, and you notice that she's got a black eye. Mildred is quiet and doesn't speak much. Mabel is the girl you spoke to earlier, the one who wears lipstick to do field work. Doris is clearly the beauty of the group, and Florence seems to be Doris's friend. You can perhaps chat with them again on the return journey, because now you're clambering up Henley Hill.
Yeah, and
just as
Doreen isn't one of the land
no,
girls.
Doreen
then.
is Forrest's own daughter.
Yeah, I realised that, but I didn't know she was one of the land girls as well.
No,
or not.
She's bringing them out a tray with some lunch on it to eat.
Okay, so she is somewhat friendly with them, even if she's not one of them.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
So climbing the slopes of Henley Hill, full of butterflies and grasshoppers, covered with mosses and wild thyme. Do you want to collect some wild thyme?
Oh, I mean, why not?
Yeah, roll a d4.
Yeah, okie dokie. That's a 1.
Okay, just you only managed to get one magically potent sprig of the stuff, but add that to your little herb list.
Okay, what's it all about?
D6 bonus for, you must arrange these things in alphabetical order. Making plans.
Ah, that sounds perfect.
Yeah. And here at the top of the hill, you've got a great view. Over to the west, you can see the standing stones on top of Grimble's seat. 5 of them you can count. And a large copse of trees that look to you a bit like blackthorns. Fairly bristling with ravens, though. It appears as though the Margrave has made that his seat.
Yeah, even now.
Yeah. Far to the south, you can see the big cliff of Lazar's Bluff, a place where there was a fire burning last night. You think you can see, if you really squint, on top of that kind of prominence is an additional sort of earthworks. Like there's some sort of grassy mound on top of that height. That's a barrow, perhaps?
I was gonna a barrow, yeah, a barrow mound. Okey
Looking
dokey.
eastwards, then over Charnley Wood, and do you want to roll your wits for me?
I certainly do. Twice.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's 2 1s.
2 1s. Okay. You can see there's something in the northern part of the woods that's kind of visible among the trees. It's white, and it sort of billows or expands. It becomes visible momentarily, and then it subsides again. It looks like a sort of silky cloud that's tangled up in the still largely bare branches of the woods.
Would I recognise that?
You can't figure what it is.
Well, I
It's,
mean,
it's like a pavilion, but it almost seems to kind of inhale and exhale like a big
Yeah.
lung.
as a character, I can't figure it out. As a player, I can, but as a character, I can't.
No, I don't think you can as a character. You know, you would think at
No,
first
that's
maybe
what
of
I'm saying.
webbing, and you
that's what
wonder,
I'm.
is it webs? But it's not. It's
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As a character, I can't figure it, but as a player, I
Yeah.
can.
Right.
Yeah.
Why? What do you think it is as a player?
It's a parachute. That's where all the parachutists were. They said there was gunfire over where the German paratroopers were, and that's a parachute.
Aldous himself is staring over into the woods, but he doesn't notice any things like that. And he mutters to himself, "She used to like walking amongst the trees." But of course, that's where we found her.
Amongst the trees, or in the trees, as it were, not to put too fine a point on it, as I try and attempt to put a hand on his shoulder, and then and then another one, and then recoil. It almost looks predatory, the gesture. Like,
yeah, he's so kind of distracted. He doesn't notice your oddness, but says, "Yes, indeed, you're quite right. It was one of the elms there that she hanged herself from." We should go back. What can I tell you? He says, used to be a big estate, Charnley Estate, where the woods are now. There was a big house. It burned down. Oh, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. There's a song about it.
a song. You
Well, I
do
told you.
like
Song, yes.
songs, don't
The
you?
White Lady of Charn, they say she still haunts the ruins, calling
Still
out for her children who died in the fire.
Does she? And can you see the ruins? I can't see any bones of
Well,
a
he does
structure or
point.
a
If you sort of
state.
squint between the branches and following the line of his finger, you think, yes, there is something
There's a
peeping
chimney
out between the
stack.
trees. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Ruins
Okay.
of the old house are there. And of
Yeah.
course, the stone, he says, you're marching back down the hill now. Elsie's Thimble, they call it. It's a standing stone, just at the northern end of the woods. If you're going on a journey, you strike a match on it, and you'll have good luck on your travels. Or, they say, if you sleep with your back to it, you'll dream of your destination.
Oh, I see. Right. That's the little sort of obelisk symbol, just sort of southeast of Charnley Bridge.
Yes.
Gotcha. Righty ho. Excellent.
And over there, he says, pointing to Grimble's seat, those old stones, that's where the pagans used to worship the skies.
Yes, don't you have some legend or other about a great battle that was fought there?
I haven't heard of the battle, but they did say that a great king made that his fortress, and till eventually, well, what happens to all great kings, really? They get overthrown. We've descended the hill now. Some sort of squabble has broken out amongst the girls by the tractor.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It seems to be Rosemary, the leader, and Edith. Are remonstrating. Their voices carry across the fields towards you. Rosemary saying, "You don't have to say who did it. I can tell who did it." And he's saying, "It's none of your business. And I just fell. It's just anybody can fall." And Rosemary's voice getting a bit stronger now as you're getting a bit closer. "He's a son of a bitch. That's what he is." And the girls were rather shocked at this use of language. First, his father doesn't pay us the wages we're due, and now this. Well, if I see you with him one more time, I don't know what I'll do. You're a fool to yourself, Eden. We're fools. We're fools for working his land when he won't even pay us the money that it's due. We're fools for putting up with this. Everybody in this village is a fool for putting up with the Childicks and the way they carry on. Anyway, as you've now come close to view, Rosemary kind of goes a bit silent. She doesn't want to say all this in the presence of her current employer.
In front of who? Sorry.
In front of Forrest, the landowner.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that would be,
not that he seems to be paying any attention at all.
No, but it would seem somewhat disrespectful.
Yeah, and also perhaps as she might assume that all local landowners have each other's backs or something like that.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Okay.
What do you wish to do? Are you going to accompany Forrest back to the farmhouse and then head off, or do you want to linger and speak to the land girls?
It's a bit of a decision. Like, Darkley's not too interested in these sort of goings on,
No,
frankly, and it's not a direct request. And I think he's probably quite wary of encountering women at this point in time and their requests. So he's tried to send them away at every point. So I think he'll scuttle along with Mr. Forrest, not directly to his door, but to that sort of direction, and then make his way back to the Charnley Arms somewhat briskly.
Okay. And then Nick. So Wombard, you've installed Sid working the earth, volunteering his services in the Dig for Victory garden, and you've fulfilled the oath to your bees. They are very happy bees. They are very pleased with you. You can choose a reward. Yeah. You could shrink the Nemesis die from a D6 back to a D4. Will only last until sunset, though.
Okay.
You could gain a free respite. Free respites are nice.
Yeah.
You could advance or retreat your doom die.
How is the Nemesis die looking at the moment? We're at
It's a
D6, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. And I roll it whenever the Nemesis's minions are active. So whatever other peril they're doing, I add a D6 in there as well and pick the higher number. And it sometimes applies to a few other challenges and stuff that are related to sort of death or darkness.
Okay, I'm tempted. My thoughts here, I think I'm tempted to shrink the Nemesis die for today just because I've still got a free respite to use. So at the moment, I feel that's probably going to be more beneficial to it for us as a team for drinking that. So let's go with that.
Okay. So the bees come swarming out of the hive on the cleft end of your stick. They take to the air, spread out across the village. They fill the gardens. They descend on the flowers, and the clouds kind of part. Little sunbeams start pocketing around, picking out spots of foliages, of herbaceous borders, of tangled twining roses around people's door lintels. And the whole town starts to take on a more summery demeanor, and the Nemesis die shrinks back till sunset to a D4. At which point, Darkly is coming up the lane towards you.
What I might do in this occasion, John, is do that classic misdirection step of walk behind a tree and turn back into normal.
Yeah. So you're no longer the vicar, which is probably going to be a bit of a relief. What's going on at the school? Something's occurring. Bum, 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 bum. The school is now approaching letting out time for this little morning school. It's lunchtime. The children are having their little treats. And Dorothy Burrell is the plump and slightly scatterbrained school teacher whose only real obsession is gardening. And Susanna Lumley, the vicar's daughter, of course, is the only person who's actually teaching the children anything valuable. 12 noon, school finishes. The children, some of them are collected by their parents, but most in a village this size will make their own way home to the farms and cottages hereabouts. You can see a little group of them toddling off towards the bridge. They'll pass by Mr. Darkly and sort of stare curiously at him. One of them is staying behind with Susanna. She's been going through this kid's exercise book, seems to be correcting a bit of homework, and they're deep in conversation with each other. And Dorothy Borrell is seeing off the remaining kids. Bye bye, children. Now remember, nice and early on Monday morning, we've got we've got more beans to plant and radishes. The radishes have got to be dug up. Lots to look forward to on Monday morning.
Fantastic. Do we recognise the child that Susanna's speaking to from our cast of children that we've met?
I think you will do, because you've been in the Vice household and you'll have seen the pictures. There's Walter.
Righty-ho.
Okay.
Are they?
Oh, no, wait
are
a second.
they...
No, it isn't. You'll see Walter. Yes, he's the kid that's heading away towards the bridge, lagging behind the main group of children who seem to want nothing to do with him. The kid that's talking to Susanna, you haven't seen before. And as you stare at him, he, perhaps sensing something, turns and looks at you darkly, and his eyes become like saucers.
Is that a grammar check or not required?
No need. He sees you absolutely for what you are, but he doesn't react with terror, just amazement. Susanna is sort of saying to him, but tell me again. This is really important. Digby turns to me. She sort of takes him by the chin and turns his face to her and says, tell me again. I'm just going to skip back over to Wally, because we've left you quite a while. You've been in the pub for a good hour.
I know, it's bloody good timers.
Yeah. What sort of things are you wishing to discover?
I'm looking around the interior of the pub to see if there's any any folklore
We've got
on
two
the walls.
soldiers lodged upstairs. One of them is never here. He's captain at the base. The other one, the young man you saw earlier, is Corporal Harris, who is billeted here till the base's accommodation is all built. Eustace Childick has arrived. You've heard about him. Now you get to meet him with his dark monobrow and a short, broad man who seems to feel himself to be a good foot shorter than he actually is, and generates a degree of tension in every encounter he has with people. He's welcomed by the middle-aged labourers and sort of holds court with them. He frequently, while he glances over in your direction, and eventually kind of calls over to you. Hi there, he says, hobbledehoy.
Are you talking to me, sir?
I'm talking to you, but I'm not going to call you sir. What's dragged you in here, sitting at the bar with an empty glass in front of you? What hedge have you been sleeping under?
Wherever one I can find, and I've got an empty glass because nobody's filling it for me.
Another one, he says, that's coming around here, hoping for something for nothing. Some of us have to work, And the labourers all find this very much to their tune and bang their glasses on the table. He's clearly kind of revving them up for some piece of mischief.
Looking at this look of you, sir, doesn't look like you work that often.
There's a sort of ooh now, and Childick stands at this and fixes you with a particularly intense glare. There's something definitely unsettling about Childick. I mean, there are people like him who just kind of radiate this kind of aura of hostility and aggression. And he'd be like that most of the time, but you feel there's something else about him as well. He's not just a man looking for a fight. Something seems to be kind of goading him, as if there's something inside that sort of torments him and won't leave him alone. And he comes striding over towards you with a fairly demonic look in his eye. You wonder if he's going to throw a punch.
You'd hit a wall veteran, would you, with an act like that?
Right, let's treat this as a challenge, okay, that you're going to have to deal with. And that was a pretty effective use of charisma, of charm. I think you can certainly roll your charm die, and out of a general respect for what you said there, I'm going to boost your charm die for the roll, so you can make it a size bigger. Childeric himself, there's going to be 2 rolls needed as threat level 1, and he's got a notch.
I'm gonna roll my doom die as well, because
Cool.
I'm gonna goad him.
Yeah.
Into trying to throw a punch. It's like I didn't fight for a world war to be talked to the like of you, chap. Handy with your fists. Come on, put them up, you great big skunk.
Okay, love it.
And that's a 4. Is my highest.
And a 1. So yeah, that little exchange works out pretty well. You don't lose any resolve. Childeric stands there kind of torn, really, between the desire to strike you, but knowing how very bad this would make you look. So instead he turns to his cronies and he says, this one likes sleeping under hedges. I think we should put him back to bed. And then he goes over and kicks a couple of their chairs till they reluctantly pull themselves to their feet. And he's going to lead them to sort of lay hands on you and drag you out of the premises, and probably throw you in a hedge.
Big brave man you are.
Good. What dice do you want to roll for this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not averse to being thrown in a hedge.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not going to contest it. I'm just going to let it happen.
Yeah, sure. You can still roll a dice.
Yeah, okay.
Reduces the amount of resolve you'll lose.
Yeah,
and possibly prevents a hazard from happening.
Okay,
Use might?
I will. Yeah, no, I'm going to roll my wits and I'm going to shout like.
Do you want to shrink anything?
No.
To generate an extra?
Oh, actually, yeah, I will. I'll shrink my wits down to a D6. And you're going to throw me in a hedge. I slept in one last night. Really? I'll take you out and throw you into your nice big fat feathery bed, you great big lump.
Fantastic.
A 5.
A 5. You'll still lose. You roll a 6. You still lose 1 point of resolve, right? And they take you out there and they push you into a hedge. His men don't really have a full enthusiasm for this. You've announced yourself to be a war veteran, and your kind of manner is dignified and light-hearted at the same time. It utterly diffuses things. So Childeric can't persuade his men to stand around and rough you up outside. They melt away, going back to their drinks or back to their field work. Childeric himself stands over you, sort of quivering with rage. And I am going to make you roll your glamoury. This is a glamour check.
Okay. A 2.
Childeric stares at you and says, I know what you are. I've heard them talking about you. I've heard them describing you. I just want them to leave me alone, he says, jabbing his finger. But now that I see you, I figure maybe they're right, what the crows have been saying. I've got my eye on you. Aye, and the crows as well. You better watch your step around here. This isn't your town. Turns on his heel and strides back into the pub.
Great big blooming ape.
You relax a moment in the hedge. Get yourself comfortable.
It's not a bad hedge.
Not a bad hedge at all.
Oh, there's a little. Oh, no, that bramble's moved now.
I think that you handled that so well, Wally. I think you should pick up another prize. Do you want to roll another D20?
Yeah, and that's a 7.
7. That's going to get you a wagon. Good for choosing more craft virtues, but you're not crafty, so it's not going to do you much good. But add it to your little list. It's one you can always discard.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Let's just pop back to the school now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, you two? Susanna and Little Digmery, the guy who can see both of you, apparently, for what you are, She takes him by the hand, and they're leaving the schoolyard together, heading off in the direction of Dr. Fairchild's surgery.
Cornery, do we go after the other lad who might lead us towards the Viking, or do we go for the...
Some children who are innocent are able to see Fae for what they are and see through the glamour, and they don't react with dread.
So do you want to split up?
Yeah, I'll go for the... I'll follow... I forgot his name again, sorry, apologies. The young
Walter.
lad. Walter, that's it.
Walter, who's
follow
headed off
Walter.
to the bridge, Walter Weiss, and there's Digby, who's gone off with Suzanne.
I'll go with Walter because I've got Hunter's Frith that is good for tracking and hunting, so I'll be able to follow him and shadow him basically without hopefully getting caught.
Yeah.
As you wish, Wombard. I'm sure I could make the acquaintance of a child. I believe they're more talkative in this era. They used to be seen and not heard or stuffed up chimneys or put in textile mills. I believe they have a lot more freedom in this era. They're wearing shoes, most of them.
Don't forget to cover most of your foot and probably close 6 of your 8 eyes. You might try and distract him a little.
We shall see, but these children can see things, much like the waifs. So I don't think there's much chance of hiding, regardless of my glamorous exterior.
Right, which of you shall we deal with first?
Wombard, I'm happy for you
Yep,
to take
Wombard,
take a lead.
Yep. So Wombard, you follow Walter down towards the bridge, and the group of kids have gathered on the bridge. These aren't the little kids. These are some of the bigger boys whose bus didn't turn up this morning. You recognise one of them, Rupert Forrest, the paper boy, who you encountered at dawn and sent on his way. Anyway, clearly they've had a merry old morning of it. Many of these kids have got scratches. Their pockets are fairly full of purloined vegetables and other interesting objects. They've clearly been through all the gardens. They've been in the fields, and now kind of flushed and excited and very much led by Rupert Forrest. They have gathered round in a little half circle in front of Walter, who's just wanting to cross the bridge and get home.
I'll start making my way slowly but cautiously toward the bridge just so I can hear what's going on.
Okay. There's a bit of pushing. There's a bit of shoving. Walter's on the ground. Somebody's called him a kraut. And then somebody steps in and takes a kick. That'll be Rupert Forrest. Walter screams and yells. They're yelling at him, "You're a German spy! You're a German spy! Admit it! Admit it! Tell us you're a German spy!"
I'll quicken my pace and go, what was his name again? Sorry, Rupert's... I forgot his last name.
Forrest.
Mr. Forrest, I don't think you should be probably tormenting the younger gentlemen of the village, do you?
Very good. Right, we're going to treat this as, again, a little challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
To work out various things that could happen. Scope 2, so it's threat level 1. Peril is a D6. Not so much because these kids are going to do anything much more than throw mud at you, but there is a large mob of them, and they're quite kind of hyped up. And they're not above kind of taunting, chanting, and drawing hostile attention. They've got this whole German spy thing into their heads. That can get nasty. They've also got a notch already in the deal, as it were, because there's so many of them. Okay. So, sounded to me like you were going in there with charm, was it, or was it wits?
For the moment, it'll be charm, I think.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Your doom die is usable once again, if you wish to.
I'm going to hold off on it just for the moment because I might use it a bit. Yep. Yeah.
Okay then. Roll as your charm for that nice little intervention.
4.
4. Okay. Only got a 1 here. So that brings Rupert Forrest sort of to attention, and he sort of squints at you. He's clearly like very conscious that he's got this gang who are kind of on his side, and he's about to do something truly mischievous. And now you've turned up, and there's a sort of desire in him to throw a rock at you or use one of those really powerful words that the adults in the pub use to each other. And struggling against this probably is the recollection of his mother and how she would feel if she could see him now. The other boys, though, one of them is sat on Walter's chest, and with a fist raised back to smack the little lad. But all of them have paused to see this little exchange between you and Rupert. That's the first level of threat dealt with. How are you going to react now?
So my next plan was to go in with Virtue and a Doom dice and basically say, do you think this is how the British military would behave? This isn't very untoward. We don't act like that in this here Blighty, do we?
I think that's good. That sounds like wits and a Doom die. Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. I'll go with that.
Yeah. Are you shrinking anything?
Yeah, I think I'll shrink my wits for the notch. So
Okay.
I've got 2d4s.
Yep.
So my first one is a 1, and my second roll is a 3.
Okay. Yeah, I got a 4 there, so you're going to lose a point of resolve. And again, Rupert Forrest is a shrewd kid. He's sort of on the edge of adulthood, and tempestuous feelings are storming around inside him. The sheer kind of confusion and hostility of the adolescent mind is powerful enough occasionally to punch through the glamour. And he stares at you, just kind of grinding his teeth, almost quivering with frustration. I'm going to ask you to make a grammary roll to see if you can.
That was a 3.
A 3, but a 4 there as well. And he does. He sees the strangeness of you, this kind of antique creature out of another time, and recoils a little bit. He will gather his troops and say, "This isn't fun anymore. Come with me," and lead them away across the bridge. Wally is left kind of, sniveling on the ground. You are standing over Walter now.
Mm-hmm.
He's all scuffed. He's got a bleeding nose. He's in a right old state.
Help him up. Say, come on, young man. Let's get you up and dress down a bit, shall we?
Yeah. So you can dab his nose and get a bit of dirt off his cheeks. Generally calm him down a little bit. What are you going to do with him?
Just make sure he's all right. Where were you heading anyway? This is not the going into town. You're heading out of it.
Well, his house would be on the south side of town. Alison's
Okay.
house is on the south side of the bridge. So he would just seem to be heading home.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Anything
what.
you wish to say to him? He's in quite a
Yeah,
vulnerable state of mind.
I'll say to him, I'll tell you what, let's, as you're heading home, let me just escort you. I don't want to make sure you get home safe to your mum. We don't see any more bullies or people trying to get in your way, and we can get you home safe.
Okay, then. You try and sort of escort him southwards, but suddenly he twists away from you in the grip of a sudden kind of terror and starts running, but not back home. Instead, northwards, past the village hall and the churchyard, kind of as fast as his wee legs can carry him. You're going to give chase or watch him go?
Yeah, I'm going to give chase, but once again, staying behind. I want to see where he's going. So
You've got Hunter's Frith, haven't you?
yeah, I have indeed. Yeah.
Okay. He runs northwards with that kind of unflagging energy that only the very young have, and then peels off the main road just before the Charnley Arms, dashes through the tall grasses growing there. He's heading towards the ditch and fence that marks the edge of the Childen estate. But you notice that a tree has fallen and fallen across the ditch there, creating a little bridge. And Walter jumps onto the fallen tree, runs across it, and disappears into the field beyond. He's gone onto the Childen lands.
Right, okay.
Going to keep on pursuing?
Yeah, keep on and trying to follow as much as I can.
Okay. In that case, I'll come back to Darkly. In fact, I'd also, Wally, well, from your position in the hedge, you'll see Digby Walter coming running up the road and peel off in the direction of the field, and you'll see Wombard creeping up behind him. So this is a very good chance for the two of you to kind of converge.
Absolutely. I'll raise myself from my bed of hedge and hail him.
Good. There's a kind of squawk from up above, and you notice a raven is sat on the roof of the Charnley Arms, and then with the big flapping wings is joined by another one. These are really big ravens. Both of them turn their beaky heads and fix you with their black, unblinking eyes. One of them calls out, "Bah!" Sounds almost like a challenge.
I look them in the eye as well. There's only two of you this time, you great big bastards.
Okay, at which they rise flapping into the air and come swooping directly at you. And again, Wombard, you will see this happening. These very large ravens darting at Wally's face, trying to peck at his eyes, and other things as well. There's a strange charge, definitely, of glamour and magical energy surrounding these things. What's your mission now? Chasing on after Walter or going to Wally's assistance?
I'll spin on my feet and go to Wally's assistance.
Okay, we'll just hold that moment. I want to just get back to the business with the two Corbies, which is what they are, will be the final little kind of event of this session. But I want to just skip back to Darkly, who was going after Susanna and little Digby. Susanna has gone to Fairchild's house and is knocking at the door. This is the village surgery. Oops, you've sound's gone there, Tom. There we go.
Yeah, are we good?
Yep, all good.
Okay. So I guess she's not tarrying. And he's being pulled along effectively,
Yes,
like
right,
glancing back at me,
Yes.
one arm flailing behind, practically being
Yes.
dragged by her to Fairchild's.
Yeah.
As I
She bangs on the door, but there's no answer there. The little boy again looks back at you rather wonderingly.
Yeah, I think I'm just sauntering along behind. I don't think I'm looking to look threatening or anything else. I think I'm just the object of his sort of obsession at this point in time.
Susanna moves a plant pot. There's a key underneath it. She takes it out and unlocks the front door of the surgery. Lets herself in and then pulls Digby in after her. Leaves the door open, however.
Okay. Right. I'm not entirely sure how far I want to pursue this. Do you see what I mean? Because yeah, he can recognize me, but you know, be bursting into somebody's home. But I suppose
You're a very effective creeper.
I'm a fey creature. I'm not going to really understand these conventions effectively, to some degree. So I think I will probably look to enter the house as well, but very, very quietly. I know how intense mortals can get over their territory.
You can hear there's a ticking of a clock coming from the study and a slightly strange smell in the household. You can hear Susanna's voice coming from the study. She says, she's saying, Dr. Fairchild, wake up. Peeping in there, you can see that she's shaking Fairchild, who is a portly, elderly man, sitting in an overstuffed armchair, absolutely stupefied. No amount of her shaking his head will rouse him at all. You notice on a little small table next to the armchair, there's a little pewter like ashtray, and set in that is a leather bag next to that has got a leather pouch that has got some needles and files in it. Fairchild seems to be quite narcotized. Susanna straightens up and sighs with exasperation, grabs Digby's hand and says, come through here. And she drags the little kid through into the surgery proper. Do you want to investigate Fairchild or
Yeah.
call it that? Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
can
think so.
creep over to Fairchild and take out all your various arms and fingers. Yes. A lot
Well,
of the smell of the place seems to come from him, a kind of sweet poppy-like smell that seems to have
yeah,
made its way into all the furnishings in here. You can see
yeah.
that there is a walking stick leaning against his chair.
Or is it a walking stick? It seems to be an incredibly long pipe. Yeah. Okay. So
medical
he's
certificates on the wall. Also a picture of what is clearly Fairchild, or much younger Fairchild, in the military uniform of the First World War.
Yeah. Then he's is it well, I don't know. I wouldn't recognize it. I'm not from this era. I wouldn't recognize it as whether it's a medical professional or a cavalryman or what have you.
Oh, I think you could tell that he was a medical professional in the war. Yes. Yeah.
So I think I can safely assume, like given the era that I'm from, that this is opium.
Yes.
Or a derivative of opium,
yeah.
given the smell.
Yes.
But
yes.
you know,
You'll identify that.
I think I'm thanking my lucky stars. It's not laudanum or
Yes.
something like that. Something really, really destructive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can safely assume. Has he left any bits and pieces for me to add to my medical kit? I think
Not
I might.
so much in here, but of course through the doorway is the actual surgery. You can see a big medical cabinet through there, which Susanna has opened up. It looks as though she has keys for this place. Maybe it's another one of many roles in the community. And she's saying to Digby, how badly was he injured? And Digby says, well, he was bleeding and the bleeding just won't stop. And he was ever so pale and he wasn't talking anymore. Not that I could understand what he meant when he did talk, and it was just, there's just lots of blood and nothing seems to make it stop. So Susanna pulls some bottles out of the cabinet and shoves them into her satchel, where she's got various school books, and then, hesitating a little bit, starts to come through back into the study where Fairchild is.
Oh well, I'm on the ceiling, like above. So if she comes through like the archway, and you can, and then the camera pans up, and you can just see me like on the coving, like between the top of the arch and the ceiling.
Yes, yeah, good. She hesitates a moment and then helps herself to the doctor's morphine capsules. Yeah. Well, not helps herself, but adds them to the collection of drugs that she's taking.
I've got a question actually. Does the morphine look like it comes in sort of medical bottles, or is this like American military surplus, like the syrettes that they used to get?
It looks as though it's his own medical supply.
Okay, it's
not, which he is using himself. Yeah.
It doesn't look like black market American surplus.
Not that you'd really know about that, but no, everything here seems to be the doctor's supply. It's just that there wasn't any in the cabinet, so she's come through and taken them directly from his little medical pouch, and adds that to the stuff in the satchel. Then she takes Digby's hand and says, we'll go and take a look at him, and we'll use the medicine to make him better. And starts propelling Digby out of the house.
Yeah, I think I want to leave the house as well. Like if there's a back door with just a latch on it or something that only opens the one way, I think I'll slide out that way.
Yeah, good. I think that was a nice, but very visual character roleplay you did there. Let's give you another prize. Roll a d20.
Okie dokie. We've got 12. Hanged Man?
That is the Hanged Man again. Yeah, the gibbet for gentle virtues.
Nice. Good-o.
And final encounter then of this session is with the Corbies. Now, Corbies are pretty nasty things. They are the Raven Margrave's main lieutenants, I suppose. They take the form of ravens, but they're sorcerous ravens. They're very intelligent and particularly vicious. They tend to use sorcery frequently to kind of control people or sometimes to drive them mad. Even one of them can be a bit of a proposition. Two of them is a problem, right? So then, they are going to make a side check against you. So that means that you, Wally, have to make a grammar roll to see if they can
Okay.
identify you for what you are. They got a 4. What did you get?
A 3.
Okay, so they do. This basically gives them ambush on you. So when they swoop in, it's so sudden that you're not going to be able to make a soak roll to stop the which probably means they'll get to do something quite unpleasant to you. They're also going to be generating this whole encounter here, total of 4 notches, and threat level is 1, so we're going to be making 2 rolls. Nick, you see them swooping down on Wally. It's still quite a distance away. What's your action going to be?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I mean, you can just say, I race up to get close to him and effectively...
I think I'm going to have to. There's not much I can do magically wise, to be quite honest. Most of the spells I've got are like, I could only, if I try and cast another one again, I'm going to just be, my resolve's gone, because to cast a hex, I'm going to be going at 2 resolve, and that's automatically down to 0
That's going
resolve.
to wonk you straight out, isn't it?
Yeah, so I may as well just run in. Possibly as I'm running through, if there's something to pick up as a weapon, I will, like a stick or something, but that's probably...
Of course, you've got your stick, haven't you? You've
of
got
course, yes.
Your wand, effectively, and that can always be used as a D6 style weapon.
I think that's what we'll go with, yeah.
Okay, then. So why don't you make a roll on that for peril resistance?
Okay, 5.
5 is good, and the peril is 3. So, Wombod, you're not going to lose any resolve. Wally, you lose 3 resolve.
I am resolved out.
That takes you to 0, does it?
Yep.
Okay. So you're effectively then defeated, which doesn't mean like you're dead or anything like that, but you are plunged into a world of nightmares that the Corbies have created. I think probably we're back there in no man's land with the bombs dropping all around, aren't we? Great acres of mud and people drowning in it. Everything
rats,
grey.
the rats.
And the rats.
And the crows above pecking at men's eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the hellscape that you've been plunged into by the Corbies. Nick, you've come racing up. They've got, what did I say? Overwhelming. So they generated 4 notches. This is going to be, and you've gotten through the first level of threat with them. You arrive standing over Wally as he kind of shrieks and rolls on the ground as the Corbies dance, pecking around him. And what are you going to do? You've just got to get through this level of the threat without conking out yourself.
So, what was the last one I used? Was that classed as might?
Might, yeah. No, it was your stick.
Oh, stick. Sorry, so just a stick dice. So, so I can't use that again. So I'm going to have to use might to.
Again.
Sorry.
Yeah. Using. Sorry.
Might to
just
swing
think,
at.
No, you're right. You can't use that again. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I'll swing at the birds with might to get them off Wally.
Thank you.
Are you going to shrink the die to try and generate any edges?
Yeah, go on then. I'll do that. So I've got to drop it down to a D4.
Do you want to roll your doom?
Yes, I will roll my doom. Yes, definitely. So I got a 2, and my doom dice I got 1. I might be next year soon, Wally.
You might be next. You lose 1 resolve. They rolled a 3.
Oh,
I'm still up.
One
I'm
resolve.
still up.
But the main problem, of course, is the sorcery hazard here, as the nightmares start to close in around you as well. Boom. We'll leave the boat. What's your nightmare hellscape like, Warmbard? If Wally is in the trenches?
I guess my character's doom stuck in a rut, isn't it? So I guess it's basically just, I don't know, doing the dishes in a house or something. Something mundane.
But that's nice. I think from your character's past in the Dark Ages, you know, there's some terrible place that they can take you back to.
Oh, definitely. So there would be I don't know, something like probably stuck in a cave, something because it's a bit where there'll be no bees, no nothing, you know, sensory deprivation, that kind of stuff. Probably something like that.
Barrow, how about
yes,
that? Yeah, buried in the barrow in the darkness with Raven Margrave. Okay, now this is how we handle defeat, right? I kind of declare what I think the defeat penalty is for you here. And I think that what this is that you are effectively stricken. Yeah? This will cause you to be 2 of your quality dice, yeah, have to be burned. In other words, they shrink in size. So you could take 2 different dice and make them a size smaller, or 1 dice could become 2 sizes smaller. In addition to which, you're sort of distracted on 0 resolve until you can have a respite. So you'll be deluded, deranged. You'll slowly recover that. You'll be in quite a terrible state, and a respite is needed even just to get yourself up and about. However, you can, both of you, choose to kind of resist that happening to you. You'll be like, no, I don't really fancy taking some fairly permanent shrinking of my stats and being kind of out of action that way. So you can choose a lesser defeat penalty. You could say, I'd rather just be distracted, thank you very much. Or you could say, I don't mind being distracted and weakened, but that just means I only have to burn 1 quality dice, not 2. You could even say, I don't mind being captured, which moves the story on, and I don't take any long-term penalties, but I need to be rescued. So there's your choice there. I roll a d10, right, for stricken. And if you want to be captured, you roll a d8. If you want to be just weakened, you also roll a d8. But if you want to get away with merely being distracted, you roll a d6. If I roll the highest, then you get stricken, like I said. But if you roll, match or exceed my dice roll, then you get the defeat penalty that you chose instead. So what defeat penalty would you rather have than being stricken? You could be captured by the Raven Margrave. You could be weakened, which isn't quite as bad as being stricken. Or you could just simply be distracted, which means that you need to take a free respite, well, just a respite to get your resolve back.
I'm going to roll the d8 for capture.
Capture, okay.
Yeah.
Nick, what do you value?
I thought about capture, but in the interest of having us both captured, I'm probably going to go with what was the one where you have the respite afterwards? Was that weakened?
That's distracted. Effectively,
Distracted.
You wander
Sorry,
off and you're out of action for a bit, and then you'll reappear as soon as everybody has a respite.
Yeah, and that's D6, isn't it?
D6,
Sorry.
okay?
Okay, perfect.
So both of you make your dice roll.
Okay.
4.
2.
2, okay? I'm rolling the D10 here.
Ooh.
3, right?
Come on now.
So, yeah. So, Wally, you get your wish. You are captured. You don't have to do your dice down or anything like that. but a rescue is needed. And Nick, you are stricken, so we're going to have to burn 2 of your quality dice. You are on 0 resolve, and until you have a respite, you can't gain any resolve back. You'll come wandering away and probably meet Darkly, and in a state of great confusion, babbling about trapped in the barrow and the ravens, and all this sort of thing. Of Wally, there is no sign. And that, I think, is where we will bring the adventure to a conclusion. I'm pretty sure we will conclude it the next session we do. Let us all get one more prize on the prize deck. And I do think that Nick there, for your business, you can get an extra prize as well, just to give everybody the same number of prizes. So so far, Wally and Darky have both had 2 prizes. So I think, Nick, you should roll for a new prize, and then everybody gets a 3rd one.
Okay, sure. Rolling now. Number 13, which
13 is the Reaper. Yeah, that one is alter your doom dice. Advance or retreat your doom dice. It is free to do. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, and everybody else?
Number
Or
5.
everybody?
Number 5, the Druid.
Number 5, the Druid. That's good for gaining arcane virtues, but it's not going to benefit you.
No.
Nick, one more.
Okay. Number 5, the Druid.
Number 5, the Druid. Arcane virtues, that will benefit you. And Carl.
2, High Priestess.
High Priestess, the Witch. Advance your wit quality die, although you'd have to roll quite high to make that happen. Now you've got your choices about what you want to do. You could take those 3 cards and just bin them off to, for the rest of the adventure, you are +3 resolve. Now, maybe, Nick, you just think, I need lots of resolve to do my spells. You know, can I have that +3 resolve, please? So maybe that's what you choose to do. You don't gain any prize, but +3 to your resolve for the rest of the adventure. Or you could choose one of the prizes and try and win it. Nick, if you choose the Reaper to alter your Doom die, that's free. You just do that. So you could boost it to a D10 and advance it rather to the D10, not D10, D8. So it's currently D6.
I'm tempted by the Arcane Virtue. Was it Arcane Virtue?
That's
the
Druid, isn't it? The cost is 5, right? So you roll your reward die, which I think is a D6 because you didn't get a reward die.
Yeah.
And you're trying to roll a 5 or a 6.
Go on then. Let's give it a go.
If you fail, your reward die goes up to being a D8.
I rolled 3.
A 3. Okay, so increase your reward die to a D8 makes it much more likely that you're going to get those rewards one day. Carl, what do you think?
I'm going to take the resolve.
Yep.
Given that Wally needs rescue, I think the extra 3 points of resolve is not going to hurt in the slightest.
Yeah, very good idea. And Wally, what do you think? Do you want to go for a prize?
I think I might go. So there's one. No, so I can't get arcane virtues or renown.
No. You could get renown.
Yes, let me try for a renown virtue.
Okay, the cost is only 2.
Okay, well I'll use. Well, okay. If I can gain 1 resolve the rest of the adventure, I'll need it. And cost is 2. Yeah, I'll try for that.
Okay then. So roll a d6 because your reward die is a d6, and
a 1.
Okay, so you didn't get it. Your reward die goes up to being a d8, right? So making you more likely again to be able to get
in the future. One day I'll get a prize.
Never mind. Okay, so Carl, you've taken the resolve bonus. The other 2 didn't get a nice prize at the end of the adventure. Wally has been captured by the dark. Nick Wombard is in a right old state. Probably a respite is needed to get all resolve back and get you back on your feet. But even then, you've got burned quality dice. So you need to decide what you're currently down on. I think
Mhm.
you have a spell. I think that is a healing spell. Am I wrong about that?
No, I don't think
No,
so.
you
I've
don't,
got
do you? No, you don't. No, you've got the Banquet Flow. Basically, you are going to be in quite a damaged way for the rest of this adventure. So we need to have a bit of a think before next session about which of your quality dice are going to take their hit down. Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is quite a good thing to leave things. We're kind of quite poised on the edge of solving much of the mystery, but we're also poised on the edge of some serious problems. We've got a captured Brianite. The Dark is alert to you. It's starting to send out its more menacing agents, and we've suffered a player character defeat. Right, everybody, we will meet again to conclude Shelter from the Storm, and thank you so much for taking part. I hope it was enjoyable.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thank you.
very much.